Welcome to the Emporia State University Libraries and Archives Sunday with a Librarian workshop. My name is Bethany Odell and I'm one of the librarians on campus. This workshop will cover tips and tricks for starting a website using resources like Wix, Weebly, and Google Sites. This workshop will be recorded and posted on our workshop guide and on our Start Your Own Website guide that I will show you in just a few minutes. If you're here to earn extra credit for a class, please leave your full name and Emporia email to the Zoom chat so that I can record those after the session to submit to your professors. To get started, instead of providing a PowerPoint slide or handout, I've created what we call a research guide so that you can follow along or bookmark that information to access at another time. So first, you're going to want to go to the library website, Library Connect, and emporia.edu/library, or you can go to Hornet 365, select Students, and on the second tier, you'll see Library Connect as the first icon. So once you're on the Library Connect website, you're going to go ahead and click on this Research Guides icon here. This gives you access to all of the research guides that the librarians make. And for this specific presentation, you're going to just search for website, and my guide shows up as the very first one. There are many reasons why you might consider creating a website to present your research or share your ideas. Websites allow you to share your ideas privately, with a group, or with the public. They allow you the flexibility to embed and share a variety of source types, such as images, files, text, videos, and even widgets. And most websites are interactive, making them great for visual presentations. Plus, websites can be updated regularly and as often as you want, including blog features, adding new video content, and so much more. So this is the homepage for my research guide, and I have a chart here that kind of summarizes the different tools that I'll be talking about today. I'm not going to be doing demonstrations of these tools because that alone could take an hour for each of them. So I wanted to focus more of this workshop on selecting the tool that might be the best for your project. So I'm going to be looking at Wix, Weebly, and Google Sites. And basically my recommendation is this. Wix is the leading brand of the three, and it's my personal favorite. It is very user-friendly, and there are hundreds of free templates for you to select and customize. Weebly is a pretty close second. It's kind of more focused for education. There's specifically a Weebly for education that you can search in Google, then it kind of pulls up a separate login, and that's for teachers. And a lot of teachers use this for building a classroom website. There's even features that allow you to embed grading, so like a grade book and syncing that with your grade book. I don't know a whole lot about this because I don't use that, so I couldn't tell you if that's a free feature or a pro feature. But if you're here for the Teachers College or you're an IDT student, I would probably invest my time in Weebly over Wix because of that specific feature for it being for education. And then finally, you have Google Sites. Google Sites is a great resource, mostly because most of us already have a Google, like a Gmail account. If you're a student in Emporia State University, you have a g.emporia.edu account, which means that you have access already to Google. And so you can instantly log into Google Sites without any extra signing up or whatever. I think one of the things a lot of people, when they're trying to decide on a tool, it's kind of an overload because we feel like we're just having to constantly subscribe to new features and new tools all the time, that this is one that you won't have to. You know, you already have access to it with your g.emporia.edu. So I want to jump into looking at each of these tools and kind of give you an overview to kind of help you decide which one might be the best for your project. Again, Wix is my favorite, so I'm going to start with Wix. And on this page, I have Wix's guide before you begin. This is kind of a checklist that Wix has created to kind of help you get started. And I like this because it kind of helps you plan out what you should be doing before you start your Wix website so that you can start out successfully. You don't have to have all the answers when you start your website. You know, you can always change things later. But with this, I like that it kind of gives you an idea of what to expect so that you're not overwhelmed and making decisions and then having to just recreate everything later. The second link here is tutorials for how you would edit and using the Wix editor. And just to give you kind of a preview of what that looks like, I've logged in to the Wix editor right here. So this is your Wix editor. There's the top toolbar and then the side toolbar that gives you access to your elements. And then here in the center is my website that I'm working on right now. So this tab will give you kind of an overview on how to do all of the things that you would need to create your website. Throughout this research guide, I've created and highlighted specific features that I see a lot of people, mistakes people make or things that they kind of just don't think about right away. And the first one would be editing your header and footer. So a lot of times when I have students submit a completed website for a project, they often forget that this down here is what you see as a footer, and they'll forget to edit that to their own information or even updating the date. And in a lot of ways, the footer of a website is extremely important because it helps us identify credibility of the source. It tells us if a website is not credible or if it's outdated. It also tells us who the author might be, or if there's any privacy, or if you can even use the content. There might be copyright information down there. So that's a really important thing to be editing when you're doing and submitting a completed project, because you're basically putting your ownership on that website. So for Wix and Weebly both, I have found tutorials that give you just a walkthrough. This is a Wix video for how to edit the header and footer. For Weebly specifically, I have them as two separate videos, mostly because editing them is kind of separate than just going through and clicking on it. And you obviously can see in this Wix editor that I have access to both my header, it is even labeling it header, and my footer, which it's labeling footer. So going to the next, adding a navigation menu. The most confusing thing, and I'll jump over here to Wix to show the navigation menu because that's where the tip comes in the most handy. One of the mistakes I see a lot of people make with the navigation menu is they see that they have this navigation menu up here, and then they have kind of a navigation menu over here. These are specifically for the Wix editor. So when you have a published site, your audience doesn't see those editors. Instead, it only sees what's here in the middle once it's published. So this right here would be my navigation menu. You know, I can move that around wherever I want. And what I see some students do is because they think that these are their navigation menus, they'll delete that navigation menu entirely. And a navigation menu is really important to a website because it basically helps your audience navigate through your website. You want it to be pretty simple. You want it to be pretty organized. I think some people, they just keep adding pages and not realizing that they're just adding 50 tabs to their navigation menu. And that can also be frustrating because then you have no idea where you're going. So going back to Wix, this tab also shows you how to add images and videos. And this advice goes with all three tools, Wix, Weebly, and Google Sites. When you're adding videos and images, you need to kind of be cautious of the storage that you have. For all three tools, they're free, but with Wix and Weebly specifically, you kind of run into a paywall once you've used up your storage. So if you're gonna be uploading your own videos, like the actual raw MP4 file, and let's say that your MP4 file is like filmed in 4K, that's a huge file. And so you could be using all of your storage space just on one video, which then you'll end up running into having to pay for more. So in this section of the research guide, I kind of walk you through how you would upload them to YouTube, you know, using YouTube to store your videos, because it's a free service. Everyone can upload things to YouTube. With YouTube specifically, if you're worried about people finding your videos on YouTube and you want them to only find them on your website, you would want to upload them as unlisted. That's different than uploading it as private. If you upload a video as private, then only the people that you actually give permission to can access it. So sometimes on websites, you might see videos that even say the video is private. It'll have kind of that frowny face icon. And this basically means that the video setting is private. If it's unlisted, that just means that they have to have the link. And if the link is embedded in your website, then it's already being shared with whoever accesses your website. So I would definitely use YouTube because it's free and it kind of helps you avoid the struggle of running out of space when you're building a website. So I also have down here how you would upload videos to YouTube via your mobile device. I think sometimes we forget that a lot of mobile devices that we have are actually really good at recording. They're getting better and better every day. And so that way when you're uploading, you can just actually upload them directly from your device and then plug that right into your website. One of the nice things about Wix and Weebly, actually I should just say this about Wix because I'm not 100% sure about Weebly, but they do have mobile apps. So if you wanted to have control over editing your website, you can definitely do that there. So then you can almost edit the website and your videos entirely on your phone. With other media options, I have free image sites such as Pixabay and Pixels. And these are like Shutterstock, except for you don't have to pay for them. And you'll see from these examples that they're really high quality images. They look really clean and they work really great for websites. With Pixabay specifically, you don't even have to have an account. You can download them without an account. And I think that comes in really handy. So adding a blog, if you're here watching this tutorial and you're here specifically because you want to start a blog, then I'm going to stop you here and say that these tools, while they all have blog features and they're all functional, they are not the best options for creating blogs. I would always recommend WordPress or even Squarespace for blogging tools because they have social platforms that help you kind of get your stuff out there. Especially with WordPress because it's so large. There's so many users that use WordPress that it's almost like its own social platform to help you grow your channel quickly. With Wix, Weebly, and Google Sites, those aren't options for that. So it's a lot harder to grow your blog. You'd have to be doing it through your social platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So it's just, that would be my one tip there. But if you're doing a research project and you just want to have a couple updates in your website and using a blog is just the easiest way to share that information, here is a video on how you would embed the new blog feature from Wix, which launched last year. And it's really clean. I really like that with Wix's blog, it's very easy to just add content quickly. The one downside is you have to make sure that you publish the website entirely. So with WordPress, if you want to add a blog article, you just click the, submit for every blog that you start. But with Wix, you actually have to constantly be publishing the site too. Talking about publishing, I'm going to jump right into publishing your site. And for most of them, you'll see with this Wix editor, here's my publish button. It's the big blue button. Weebly is the same. It has the same big blue button. With Google Sites, it's, I think, purple. I don't have it pulled up here right at the moment. It functions a little differently, so I wanted to mostly highlight Wix and Weebly just because it's not quite as clear with Wix and Weebly once you go through the publication part. And the biggest mistake I see users make is when they publish something and they start sharing their URL to their published website, sometimes they will publish and share the editor part of their website. And that editor URL looks like this right here. It even says editor.wix.com. With Weebly, I'll show you here. It says weebly.com/editor. That's an incorrect URL because that's a customized URL specifically for your account. So you would have to have the username and password. And it's definitely a red flag if someone tells you, I can't access your website. It says I need a username and password. Don't give them yours. That's a no. That's a hard no. Instead, make sure that you're actually giving them the URL that goes with your published site. And you can often find that if you're not sure where it is. You can often find it when you click the publish button, you'll have some kind of screen that shows up. Right now it says I don't have the internet. That's weird. Sign it in again. A lot of times when you click this, yep, there it is. So when you click it, you'll have this screen that pops up and it will let you view your site as if you were looking at it from your audience's point of view. So that's what this would look like right here. And that gives me my URL, but it also tells you what your URL is right here. And it will do that with Google Sites, Wix, and Weebly. All have a similar screen like this. So just remember, if you're submitting something that says editor in it, that's probably not the right URL, unless for some reason your website is called editor, or if your username is called editor, and I don't see the chances of that being very likely. So finally, over here in the sidebar, I have additional information about all three, such as where you might find support for Wix, Weebly, or Google. I'll kind of show you for all three of them. So that's where you would find the support page. My favorite one is definitely Wix because it's more organized. If you're trying to find the answer to a question, it goes by category. If that's, you know, yet another reason why Wix is just one of my favorite tools. I also really like the privacy policies are very neat and organized. You should definitely know what your privacy policies are for the tools that you use, not just for websites. I would say the privacy policy for any kind of platform that you're using on the web, just knowing what you're signing up for. With Weebly specifically though, I did want to point out that there's also an accessibility statement for Weebly. Wix and Google Sites don't necessarily have one, but Weebly does, and I definitely like that their focus is on education, so I feel like that might be where the drive is coming from a little bit there. But they have kind of more information about accessibility and how to embed accessibility, which I will transition from there into the accessibility part of building a website. So this tab here kind of talks about some of the things you need to think about to make sure that your website is accessible to everyone. For one, you want to make sure that all of your images include alt text. Alt text is alternative text that describes images for those that may not be able to see it visually. And this isn't just for people that are using screen readers. You can use alt text as a way to, like if for some reason your image isn't loading at a website, if it has alt text on it, it will often show an empty box, but it will still show the alt text. So that way users kind of know what they're missing, even if they can or cannot see the picture. So adding alt text is pretty easy for all three of these tools. If you just click on the image that you need to add alt text for, there's usually like a advanced setting and then you can add it there. Alt text should be pretty short, but as descriptive as you can make it. Don't include unnecessary details. Like in this image example I have here, my alt text says, this is a photograph of a pug dog wrapped in a striped scarf sitting on a forest trail. I don't know if saying that it's a pug versus a dog is necessary unless I had a website that was specifically about different breeds of dogs, then it would definitely be more important that I was descriptive. But since this is a website about starting your own website, that kind of detail may or may not be important. So that's where you might consider adding or removing additional words, because you have to think about if this is being read by a screen reader, it will read the entire thing. So you don't want really, really long alt text, because that just means it's that much longer that the person listening to it has to wait before they get to the next section of important information. Then down here I have adding captions to your YouTube videos. This is just as important as alt text. I think a lot of people, it's a lot of work adding captions. For this specific video that I'm filming right here, it's going to be 30 minutes, and adding the captions later is probably going to take a couple of hours. It takes a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it because you're not just adding captions for the sake of your viewers that have hearing impairments. You're doing it really for anybody and everybody, because there's a lot of viewers that may not be able to watch a video because of the location that they're in. They might not be able to listen to the sound. Maybe they're in a place where it's too loud to hear the sound, or if it's too quiet and they can't play the sound. I mean, there's just a lot of reasons why you would add closed captions to a video other than just for the sake of a hearing impairment. And then finally, here's additional information about accessibility and your website. So the W3 is Introduction to Web Accessibility. That includes a lot of checklists, information, tutorials, all of that. This is the best website to go to for that. And then I also have Emporia State University's accessibility page. This is designed by IT's Learning Technology Department. And this covers most of accessibility in general at Emporia State University, but they do have a couple of sections that talk about developing accessibility with PDFs, videos, images, things that apply to online instruction, but also apply to starting a website or even just managing a website. So I like that they have tips and tricks on there and a couple checklists of their own to use. Finally, I have this tab here. It's going to be empty for you as you're watching this, but if you go to the research guide after this, you'll notice there will be a video. This is where I'm going to be posting the recording of this video onto this guide. You can also find the video in all of our other workshop videos and our LibGuides, and ironically, the guide is right here at the top. It says ACES and library workshops, but if you can't remember that, you could just put in workshop and it will pop itself up right here. And this is where all of our other workshop recordings are being hosted. So mine will go along with these as well. Again, before I take any questions, I just want to say that if you're here to earn extra credit for a class, please leave your full name and Emporia email in the Zoom chat so that I can record those after this session to submit to your professors. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I'm going to say thank you for watching this workshop, and I look forward to submitting this recording for you to enjoy later.